Okay, hope you're having a great evening, morning, night, day, whatever time it is for you. Now, this video we're creating a phone, interactive phone in our scene. So I'll do this differently. So I think sometimes this might be easier to show you it working, then I'll delete it and then we'll create it again. So I'll show you the work, what we're gonna build, and then we'll start again from scratch. So we have this phone. And what I want to do is say we're within an area, so I've set it to this area here in the bookshelf. So if a user walks within that area, the phone begins to ring. As you can see, it starts to ring, and it has a 3D sound. So from a distance, it starts to fade. If I'm inside this area, I can hear it. As I get closer, I can go up to it, press E.
It's too late now. I've been watching
Now I can listen
every
to the
move
phone.
you've made, every step
And
you've
again,
taken,
if I step back,
and now
it has a fall off distance set. So, the audio, the closer I get, the louder it is, the further I am as well.
and subscribe.
Anyway, so this is what we'll be creating. So let's get started. So we're creating it will be called our phone blueprint. Now a few assets you may have noticed I have is the audio files and the phone itself. Now I'll let you use your own assets. I'm not gonna really provide them. I'll show you how I created them or where I got them from. So I've just found the phone on what's it called, on Sketchfab. So you can see here's a blue phone. Um, there's other phones. Maybe you want to put a phone box in there. Maybe you want a really old phone. Um, you might want a kind of modern phone with a big dial pad. It's up to you. You could have a phone box in there if you wanted. You can place a phone box in your world that you go up to and press E. I'll leave that up to you. And the creativity side up to you what you're going to use. We're just looking at the actual blueprint itself and how we're going to create this. In terms of the voice you hear is just on the free version of 11 Labs. Um, you can type in whatever line or script you want on the free version. They have a few voices. You can also do different languages depending where you're in the world. Maybe you don't want English, you want something else. I don't know. Maybe you want in Korean or Indonesia or Hindi or Polish or Malaysian or Romanian. There's so many. It's quite cool. It's quite cool. Um, or you can just record your own voice or your friend's voice and um, import that in. Again, I'll leave that up to you. Um, Again, if I hit play, you can see it will read whatever this is. I think, this is just the default example, but you
In
can
the
change
ancient land of
this.
Eldoria, where the skies were
There you
painted,
go. Anyway, that's enough of this. Let's go straight into Unreal. Okay, so I'm going to delete, like I said, I'm going to delete this blueprint. I'll delete a few files and then we'll recreate all these files anyway. So delete, force delete. Um, in my sound effects, I'm going to delete these two files. Alright. I won't delete the sound files I've imported in. So the same way in a previous video where I did the paper pickup sound, you import your WAV files or MP3s the same way into you can drag and drop the content into your content folder. So if you have a WAV file, just drop it into here into your folder. I'll put them in here. So this is the man on the phone,
it's too late now.
and this is a ringing sound. Again, I'll let you source those. Internet's full of resources there. Anyway, in terms of the phone itself, the phone is here, and it has a lot of parts to it, and I'll show you how to bring in multiple static meshes into the blueprint a lot easier. There might be an easier way, but I don't know. The way I do it is like we'll do it in a second anyway. So let's go into our blueprints actors and we're going to create the blueprint, right? So we're going to start off with right click, blueprint class, actor. And we're going to do BP underscore phone, right? Phone. Make sure I spell it right. BP phone. Double click this. And in here on the at the top, I just want to add a box collision. So this box collision, this first box collision, this is what we're gonna overlap with. So when the player overlaps this, wherever we place it in our environment, the phone will start to ring. So you could say, well, when the player reaches the end of a corridor, I want the phone to ring. Or as they get to that doorway, maybe the phone will ring there. It's entirely up to you where you place this in your world. Okay, so this is our box collision. You can rename this, whatever you want. Phone ring. I'm gonna say so. So I know this is gonna trigger the phone to ring. Again, it's up to you whatever you want to call this trigger. Okay. And again, I'm gonna make sure I click on. I don't click on here because it'll parent whatever you do underneath. What you want to do is click on here. What I'm gonna do is add a static mesh. All right, one static mesh. This I'm just gonna say I can parent underneath this the phone. So I'm just gonna call this phone. Right, and then under here I'm just gonna say add, and then we want to add multiple meshes. So what we're gonna do is go to our content drawer, go to our phone. Now you got materials and meshes all in here, and you don't want to like have to hold shift and select, find out which ones are the mesh and which ones are material. So all you can do is you can filter out and just say just static mesh. Click on that little arrow, and now that filter only the meshes. Right, if you shift select all of those, go up to your components, add static mesh multiple assets, and if I hit that, boom, we've got all the assets now under phone, which I can now scale. So the reason I put one blank static mesh is this then allows me just to scale, oops, this down. Oh, make sure I get it from the center. There we go. So I can make this nice and small. There we go. And I'll put that in here. And maybe I'll just have another bounding box just for this. I mean, you don't need to, but maybe it's easier. Let's just add a box trigger, box collision. I'll just call this phone. All right, phone. Let's go phone. Okay, let's call this phone collision. There we go. All right. Now the two are in the same spot. Don't worry about that. Leave the phone collision as it is. That size is fine. The phone ring, I'm just going to scale this up. So I'm going to hit R and scale this up. So this is just slightly bigger because they were overlapping. They're in the exact same spot. So this one we want to move anywhere in the world. And then this one is where we're going to place. So there we go. Okay. Now let's jump into creating the blueprints. So we've got our mesh ready. And our collision box is ready. Again, you don't need this in a one, but I just like to have that in there. It's just easier to click. Again, if you want to tighten this, you can. But yeah, there you go. Anyway, what I want to do is go to my event graph. I'm gonna delete these. We're gonna add an event from our phone ringing. So from our phone ringing, we want to say on begin overlap. Now you can find this if you scroll down. When you click on the collision box, you can scroll all the way down on begin overlap, or you can also right click here in your components, add an event on begin overlap. Same thing. So if it just saves you from scrolling. Instead of scrolling, you can just right click, add event on begin overlap, and we have that there. Okay. Now, we also need to add our class settings, the interaction. So we need to add BPI interaction, all right? Because we want to interact with the phone to listen to it and stop the ringing. So BPI interaction, and if you go here, the interface interaction, and here. So we're going to have two separate builds. So one up here will be the phone rings. Then here it'll be we interact. So from this one we'll interact with the phone So we'll answer it, so the ringing will stop. Then we'll listen to the voice. Voice ends. Then if you want to interact with it again, then you can do that and re-listen to it if you missed the message again. Okay, so let's start with the phone ringing. So from here, what we want to do, I only want the phone to ring once. So I'm going to say do once. All right. This stops it. So if the player was to re-enter the bounding box, I don't want to trigger the audio multiple times and have it overlapping, and then you just get a bunch of noise. Actually, I can show you how it sounds and how it works. What would happen? So I could say spawn at spawn audio at location, spawn sound at location. Sorry, and this is going to be the ringing. So I'm going to type in ringing phone. And the location will be the phone itself. So rather than the phone, I'll use the collision of the phone. So phone box, so phone collision, this one. So I'll use this mesh, this trigger as the location. So I'm going to say get world, well, if I can spell, world location. Okay, so this is where we're going to get the world location, and we're going to get that from this. Now you can choose, I don't know, one of the meshes if you wanted. You don't need to use that. I just thought it's just, you know, instead of all these parts, it's just set it to a little bounding box, collision box, and just say that's where our location's from. Anyway, boom, just feed that into there. Okay, and then from here, actually we don't need to, we'll do that later, but I'll just show you what happens if you don't do the do once. So hit compile, hit save. And let's just get the phone in to our scene. So we go to BP actors. Let's just uncheck the static mesh because we filtered that out. Now we can see everything. Drop the phone into our world. Okay, now you can place this wherever you want. Okay, so you can see if I, for example, originally I placed it here. So what I'll do is just place this like this. Maybe you want to scale down a tiny bit. Okay, so this is the trigger, this bounding box here. The outer bounding box is what triggers the phone. So in my details panel, I'm just going to scroll down to select the phone ringing, and now I can move this separately from the phone and say, okay, when I'm near the bookshelf, for example, I want the phone to ring, right? So every time whenever the user walks near the bookshelf, like I said, you can place this exactly how you want, or wherever you want. It could be at the end of a corridor, hallway, doorway, wherever you want. You can place that, and then the phone will start to ring. So as I enter this area here. Anyway, we hit play. Wait for this animation to finish. There we go. All right, so we go into here. The phone rings. Right, so the phone's ringing. Now, if I was to re-enter, now you hear it multiple times, and we don't want that. We only want it to do it once, and because it's just gonna be terrible. It's just terrible. It's just spawning multiple audio at that point. So what we're gonna do is say go back to our blueprint here. That's why we say do once. So from here it will say do once. Okay. And it will spawn that sound at the location, all right? And then when we press E, when we want it to interact with this, we want to stop the audio. So for us to stop this audio to control it, we need to promote this to a variable. And you can name this whatever you want. So I'll just call this ringing. So ringing. So I know this is the phone ringing, right? And I can get this, bring this in. So the variable into my scene. So I can get. And then from here, I'm going to say I want it to fade out. Fade out. You can do stop as well. You can do all kinds of, we've got audio. You know, you can there's a lot more settings, so you know, you can just say stop, stop delayed. I like the fade out, and then I'll say maybe half a second to 0.5, it just kind of fades out. And so this part of our logic, the phone ringing, is pretty much done. So I'm just going to comment this. Phone ring on overlap. I'll just comment this by pressing C. Okay, so this is pretty much done. We don't need to worry about this logic. It's all done. So now we're doing the interact with the phone. So when we press E on the phone itself, we want this audio here to fade out. Now you might want it to fade out over a second, half a second, entirely up to you. Okay, so once it fades out, again, we're going to use the do once, right? So we're going to say do once, there we go. All right, do once, spawn that location. So we only want to spawn the audio file once, which will be the voice. So spawn audio at location, or sound. I keep on saying audio, but sound at location. Okay, and the location will be, of course, the phone. So we can take the world location from here and just link that here. Okay, and this will be the man on the phone. So man on the phone. Okay, from there we want to say okay, we need to create an event to say the audio has finished, right? To say, because it will do it once, plays the audio. If I press E, it won't trigger it again because I need to reset this do once. So what we're doing from here, we're saying what's it, audio finished, finished. So we're going to say assign on audio finished. It will create an event. I'll leave it as on audio finished event. You can change that name if you want, that event name. So when it's finished, this event will be fired, and that just goes into the reset. So that'll reset that do once. That's all we need to do. And again, I can comment this. So just select them all. C. Answer phone. Answer phone. Okay. And then that will play when you answer E to answer the phone. The ringing stops. Plays the audio file that we want, the voice on the phone, and once that finishes, you can go press E again to interact with it, and that's it. Really simple. I'm gonna hit compile, save. Oh, there's an error, so that I forgot to link the target. So all you have to do is just link the return value to the target, compile, save, done. Now we're gonna hit play. And then next what we'll do is we'll look at creating a profile so we can set distance from how far we can hear that ringing, so we can have a fall off on the sound itself. But right now, okay, if I walk in this area again, you don't get the overlapping because it only does it once. Let's go to the phone, press E.
It's too late now. I've been watching every move you've made, every step you've taken.
Now when I walk away from the
And
phone,
now
that
I'm
voice
closer than
is
you
still
think.
loud.
Don't forget to hit the like, share, and subscribe.
Okay, so that's all well and good. So logic is working. There's no overlapping sounds. We can trigger this when we say enter this area here, and the phone rings, you answer it. Logic, so it's really simple logic. Next, what we want to do is just go into our sound effects folder, and we want to create a sound attenuation. I hope I said that right. Like a profile, so set a distance, a fall off distance. We're going to create two, one for the voice and one for the ringing. So let's right click, and we're going to go to audio, sound attenuation. I hope I'm reading that right, but you can see it says defines how sound changes volume with the distance to the listener. All right. Now I don't know if, how well you'll hear it, but because I've got surround sound on my headphones, but I don't know if the OBS captures it just as well as like the same experience that I'm hearing. Um, like you won't hear left ear, right ear, for example. Anyway, I'm gonna call this ringing phone. Right. So this is the sound ringing phone sound attenuation. Right. If you double click this profile, now you have a radius. So this is from the actual center point of what we're saying, that the phone location. And so you have an inner and outer radius and a fall, so it's a fall off distance. Um, the only settings I'm going to change right here is I'm going to change this to natural sound, and on my fall off I'll set this to maybe say 1500, and set this to, I don't know, 300. Again, you can play around with these settings depending on how far you want your distance and from your phone, and if they're in another room, you may want them to hear it slightly louder or less. It's up to you on that distance. So play around with those settings and see what works best for you, and then hit save. That's all we have to do. Okay, we can close this. We can go back to our content. Let's just duplicate this and call this voice. I'll rename this one voice on phone. Right. So now the voice on the phone, I'm going to have a much smaller radius. So maybe I'll set this to like 150 and 400. Hit save. Okay, so this is a much smaller radius, because when you're hearing someone speak on the phone in real life, it's not as loud. You're not going to hear it across the room unless it's on loudspeaker or something. But even on loudspeaker, it's not as loud as a phone ringing. Anyway, we can close this. So where do you apply those profiles? How do you apply them to your sound? So here on the spawn sound location, if you click on the drop down, you got this attenuation settings. And what we're going to do is just select for this is the ringing. So I'm going to set this profile for the ringing. And for the voice on the phone, I'll set voice on the phone here for that man on the phone. There we go. Hit compile, save, and hit play. Give it a second. So we enter this area and it's very faint. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's very faint. As I get closer, now we're in it 100%. If I hit E,
It's too late now. I've been watching
now if I step
every
back,
move you've made, every step you've taken.
can't hear it. So it's much smaller radius for the voice on the phone. And maybe I walk away, and I was like, oh, I walked away, I didn't hear it. Let me go back and press E
It's too
and
late
replay
now.
this.
I've been watching.
But the phone will never ring again. So maybe you want to jump scare them with a phone ringing, and then they'll be like, huh, what's that? And then they go to answer the phone after.
It's too late now.
Um,
I've been.
yeah, but there you go. And then you have like a creepy voice on the phone. Um, anyway, what's this? Accessed. What's this? Is this from previous? It's probably from previously. I'm not too sure. But anyway, don't worry about that too much. Anyway, what we're gonna do next? I think we've pretty much done everything we can on the phone. It's not a complicated blueprint, like I said. Um, so yeah, I hope that was useful, and you have a great day, morning, evening, and night. Um, next maybe we'll make like a TV screen that you can turn on and off. And then or some traps. I don't know. Maybe we'll do a trap that can kill the player. I don't know. An area that you walk into and maybe your character perishes, yeah, well, I'll have a think about the next video, but enjoy your day, morning, evening, and night. If it was useful, thank you again. If you can hit that like, share, subscribe. If you leave a comment, maybe you have a different way of doing this or better way. I'd like to hear from you, because I know there's so many ways to build blueprints, different ways of doing logic, different ideas. Anyway, thank you again. Bye bye.